You feel it too, don't you? A quiet withdrawal, like the soul pulling its hands back from a burning world. Something in you no longer fits. The noise, the screens, the endless pretending. Those who once spoke loudly about truth now whisper only to the wind. They are leaving, not in anger, but in silence. They walk away from conversations that no longer feed the spirit. They don't argue, don't explain, don't defend their light anymore. They simply fade, slowly, beautifully, painfully. And the world, too busy to notice, keeps spinning in its own madness. But you, the one who sees, you can feel them disappearing. Every corner of this modern world screams for attention. Voices competing for validation, for clicks, for approval. Truth has become entertainment, and wisdom just another quote for scrolling. People talk about awakening while drowning in distraction. It's a theater of souls pretending to be conscious. But the truly awake ones have seen through it all. They no longer crave to be seen, to be right, or to belong. They're stepping out of the carnival, quietly, deliberately. The more they awaken, the less they wish to speak, because silence has become the last sacred space left. Awakening isn't light, it's heavy. It's carrying the unbearable truth of how lost we've become. It's realizing that most people don't want to wake up. They want comfort. The awakened ones have looked behind the curtain. They've seen the machinery of fear, vanity, and illusion. They've felt the exhaustion of explaining what others refuse to hear. So they retreat, not out of superiority, but out of mercy for their own peace. They let go of convincing, fixing, saving. They choose stillness over chaos, depth over noise. And the world calls them detached, not realizing they are free. They aren't vanishing into darkness, they're vanishing into clarity. It's not escape, it's evolution. They've stopped trying to change the system from within, because they finally understood the system feeds on resistance. So they walk out of it, barefoot, unannounced, unseen. They disappear into smaller lives, quieter rooms, simpler truths. They stop chasing meaning in external approval. They become ghosts, not of sorrow, but of awareness. They observe the chaos from the edges with compassionate detachment. And in that detachment, they rediscover what it means to be human. To see clearly is a blessing and a burden. You start noticing the emptiness behind every performance. You feel the loneliness of existing in a world addicted to illusion. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't unlearn the truth once it's burned into your eyes. The laughter of crowds starts to sound like a cover for pain. The parties, the trends, the noise, all of it feels hollow. So the awakened don't hate the world, they mourn it. They drift away not because they're better, but because they're breaking. And in their silence, there's both grief and grace. At some point, every awakened soul reaches saturation. The noise becomes unbearable. Not just the external kind, but the inner one too. They stop arguing with people who listen only to reply. They stop explaining to those who prefer illusions over truth. Their energy no longer belongs to the battlefield of opinions. They let the noise collapse under its own emptiness. They turn inward, where the real world still breathes quietly. And there, between silence and surrender, something ancient awakens.
It whispers, "You were never meant to be understood, only to be real." And that's when the disappearance begins. They don't slam doors, they don't make speeches, they simply stop showing up, to drama, to gossip, to chaos. They stop feeding energy into things that starve their soul. You'll look for them in old circles, but they're gone. No fights, no goodbyes, just absence. A graceful vanishing, like smoke leaving a candle. They've learned that peace doesn't need witnesses. Their silence becomes their protest, their disappearance, their declaration. Because sometimes the loudest truth is the quiet exit. To wake up in a sleeping world is to lose your comfort forever. You can't return to small talk once you've tasted depth. You can't enjoy the mask once you've met your own reflection. Every conversation becomes either sacred or unbearable. The awakened wander through life like ghosts with open eyes. They laugh less, but when they do, it's real. They speak less, but when they speak, it cuts through illusion. They give up belonging in exchange for authenticity. And though they stand alone, they stand in truth. That loneliness, that's the price of clarity.
Today, everyone wants to look spiritual, not be spiritual. It's all filters, affirmations, and half-digested wisdom. But the real awakened don't advertise their light. They hide it, protect it, nurture it in silence. They know sacred things die when shown to the wrong eyes. So they walk among the crowd unseen, carrying invisible fire. While others seek followers, they seek freedom. While others chase enlightenment, they dissolve the self. Their awakening isn't a trend, it's a quiet transformation. And that's why the world can't find them anymore. Don't mistake their silence for surrender. They haven't given up on humanity. They've stepped back from its madness. They still love deeply, but from a distance. They still care, but without attachment. They've stopped shouting into the void, hoping someone will hear. Now they speak only when words are sacred. They've traded attention for peace, approval for truth. They walk lightly, knowing everything they touch is temporary. They no longer seek to change the world, only to understand it. And in that understanding, they disappear beautifully. Awakening separates you. It peels you away from people, habits, and versions of yourself that no longer fit. You begin to crave silence the way others crave validation. You start to see loneliness not as punishment, but as purification. Your soul grows quieter while the world grows louder. You become a stranger in your own timeline. Even surrounded by people, you feel unseen. But there's beauty in that distance. It teaches you self-communion. You stop begging for connection and start becoming the connection itself. That's when solitude turns into sanctuary. There's a quiet revolution happening, unseen by the masses. No flags, no leaders, no slogans, just souls waking up one by one. They don't destroy, they withdraw. They don't shout, they observe. Their rebellion is inner peace in a world addicted to chaos. Every awakened being who steps out weakens the illusion slightly, like tiny cracks forming in the mask of the modern world. You can't see this revolution, but you can feel it. It's spreading through silence, through awareness, through stillness. This is how the world truly changes, quietly. We built a world that never sleeps, Screens flicker like false stars, and everyone's chasing digital light. We measure worth by numbers that mean nothing. We perform authenticity for strangers we'll never meet. But the awakened see the glitch in the code. They sense how this constant connection kills true intimacy. So they log out, disappear, unplug. Not in rejection, but in healing. They remember what it means to look at the sky without recording it. They choose presence over performance. And in doing so, they reclaim their humanity. The more they awaken, the simpler they become. They no longer need luxury, labels, or recognition. Peace becomes their only ambition. They find joy in slow mornings, quiet tea, honest eyes. They trade possessions for presence and plans for flow. They stop chasing the idea of becoming someone. Instead, they dissolve into what is. Their life becomes art in still motion. No rush, no noise. And while the world calls it disappearing, they call it coming home. Because simplicity is the final sophistication. Even in their silence, they still create. But not for fame, not for applause, for truth. They write, paint, speak, and build from the soul. Every act becomes a conversation with the infinite. Their art doesn't scream. It hums softly, eternally. They plant seeds that bloom long after they're gone. They're not here to be remembered, but to awaken memory in others. Their disappearance is not an ending. It's transformation. Their absence becomes presence in a higher form. Because creation never dies. It only changes frequency. Those who disappear leave behind mirrors, not monuments. They reflect what we refuse to see. Our own distraction, our own fear. Their silence confronts us more than their words ever could. They make us question what we're chasing and why. In their absence, we feel the weight of our noise. Their vanishing becomes a message. Wake up before you vanish too. It's a haunting beauty, this kind of lesson. They teach by leaving. They love by letting go. And we, if we're ready, will follow their footsteps into quiet truth. One day, they will return, not as teachers, but as presence itself. The world will grow tired of its own noise. And in that exhaustion, people will seek what was once ignored. Stillness. Then the quiet ones will reappear, not to speak, but to guide through being. Their disappearance was never abandonment. It was preparation. They were becoming the silence this world desperately needs. They will rise again, calm and unseen, like dawn through fog. Not to save anyone, but to remind everyone. Because the truly awakened never vanish. They just wait, in silence, for the rest of us to finally listen.